Coming to you live from Ursprung Gymnasium on the campus of Baldwin Wallace University. Welcome inside our coverage of the OAC tonight as Baldwin Wallace hosts the Heidelberg Student Princes. It's game 11 in conference play and game 19 on the basketball season for the Yellow Jackets. Coverage tonight sponsored by Dan Andrews and Olympic Forest Products, a global recycling company, and by the Oswald Company. They'll handle all of your insurance and risk management needs. I'm Brendan Gulick alongside Jeff Miller. Jeff, these two teams played back in early December and had a really interesting game. The Jackets won by just 1 point. It was really streaky. BW had a really good stretch of roughly 20 minutes in the middle of the game that built them up enough of a cushion because they had a bad start and a bad finish, and yet they still won by 1 point.
It's one of those things, Tiffin, and playing in Heidelberg Gymnasium is a tough place to play. BW has always proven that. And yeah, you're like you said, coming out strong, having a start, and then having a late finish. That they're lucky to hang on for that victory because that would have been a crushing loss for them early on in the year.
Well, and in the last decade, this has been a series pretty much dominated by the Yellow Jackets. But despite the fact that the series is so heavily in favor of BW, a lot of the games have been really competitive games. So you look at Heidelberg and BW and you kind of throw a lot of that out the window because this Heidelberg team is pretty good and they're very capable of beating BW tonight.
Yeah, you say the last 22 meetings, BW's won 16 of them. But a lot of them, especially here, for whatever reason, Heidelberg always plays tough, even though they've lost 10 straight here. 2 of them have gone into overtime, including their last win, which was in 2009.
We'll have to find out if the Yellow Jackets are equal to the task here tonight. They're a little bit banged up, but frankly, this time of year, who isn't? Everybody's dealing with bumps and bruises and nicks and scuffs along the way, and it's about toughness and who's going to outlast the other guy. Jackets will be in the white tops, Heidelberg in their predominantly black uniforms here on the road. Heidelberg coming off of a loss at Otterbein this past weekend after having won back-to-back games over Muskingum and Capital. Heidelberg 7-10 on the season. They are 5-5 in conference play. Their OAC wins have come against Capital, Muskingum, Ohio Northern, the surprising one perhaps to some, Mount Union, and they beat Otterbein back in mid-December as well. Mount Union Purple Raiders, their only loss in the OAC this year was back on January the 4th, a 1-point game. But after having seen Mount Union, I'll tell you what, anybody that beats that team is a worthy opponent in my book. Jackets win the opening tip. We'll give you the starting lineups. We are underway. Basketball time from Ursprung Gymnasium. Michael Quiring, Anthony Mazzio, Drew Sova, Luke Shaefer, and Zach Sabula. Same starting 5 that Tom Heil has brought out there on a number of occasions lately. As we get a foul on the far side, Eric Brown, our head referee, made that call. Ricky J. Pest and Derek Gaudio are his 2 assistant referees. On the Heidelberg side, Tamal Watkins, a senior guard out of Columbus South High School. Josh Dixon, a really talented senior guard from Lima. Dylan Woods is a junior guard out of Cincinnati, Ohio, as Sova turns around and missed everything. Seth Homan, a sophomore forward from Clyde Senior. And Bailey Croft out of Spencerville. He is a 6'6 junior. You'll see him in the post quite a bit tonight.
Had pretty good defense there on Sova to force that very short shot by Sova in the paint.
Perhaps an early opportunity for Watkins. Good little up and underneath move. And Josh Dixon gets Heidelberg on the board early on. Yellow Jackets playing down through Luke Shaefer. And he threw it away up top, picked away by Woods. Woods coast to coast with it, can't spin it home. Offensive rebound turns into an open look and an easy bunny for Tamal. BW, I think, against a Heidelberg team that is as pesky as this group, they better find a way to stay locked in on the offensive end. That might sound silly, but Heidelberg tends to score a lot of good, easy points off turnovers. Michael Quiring with an awkward-looking shot, but effective. 4-2. Don't want to give points away to the Heidelberg Student Princes. This is Josh Dixon up top, Tamal Watkins. Good defense from Quiring, just shows him the middle of his chest and says, try and dribble by me. 10 to shoot. Dixon backing Q down, turns and scores. That was a little too easy. Mentioned Tom Heil, fifth-year head coach of the Yellow Jackets. Andy Buhai, the leader of the Heidelberg Student Princes. Coach Buhai is one of the better younger coaches in the Midwest region, in my opinion. 2005 graduate at Wittenberg, as Luke Shaefer hits the first three ball of the night. Nearly 1,000-point scorer when he played college basketball after coming from the powerhouse school down in Cincinnati, LaSalle. Coach Buhai spent a little time in a couple different places across Division III college basketball. More on him in a minute. This is Dylan Woods, rattles one home. First 2 points for Woods. Almost 3 minutes in, 8-5. Student Princes out front. Mazzio to the right-hand side. It's becoming a one-on-one game. Mazzio loose on the floor. Jump ball back to Heidelberg.
Looks like Heidelberg is playing with a little more intensity, and you know, you can't have a letdown after the Jackets had a great game against the number 6 team in the country last week. I know they probably dropped this week, but you know, it was one of those great games that they played and came out on the short end of it. You can't have a letdown tonight.
See how Heidelberg wants to attack here with Croft handing the ball off from the keyhole. Watkins heating up early. And so far, this game is somewhat reminiscent of the first time these two teams met. Heidelberg having a good offensive start to the night. Sova. Mazzio comes to his aid. Acquiring an all-conference performer. Senior out of Brunswick with a sweet spin move. High off the window. Didn't go in. Sova. And a jump ball. This time it stays on this end. Alex Nara will check in for BW. And he takes Sova's spot.
Little tenacious defense down there by Watkins, because the little guy underneath went Sova and he just stayed put and then ended up getting help for the tie-up.
Nara, a couple of dribbles, and then let's Quiring run the show. Inside 16 minutes Q, the underhand layup didn't go in. And Nara couldn't pull it down. 2-on-3, that doesn't scare Dixon. He goes right to the rack and scores. Timeout. Jackets. Baldwin Wallace is down 12-5. BW didn't exactly prioritize getting back on defense that last time up the floor. Anyways, as it pertains to Andy Buhai, he was part of a really good program down at Wittenberg, but won a couple of regular season and tournament titles as a player, and he went to 3 NCAA tournaments. The year after he graduated, he was on the team's coaching staff and was an assistant on the Wittenberg team that was the Division III national runner-up in 2005-2006. Then he went to Ashland University to work with a really good Division II program at Ashland. Unfortunately, the Eagles have fallen off a little bit here in the last few years, but all in all, it's been a pretty solid program in the GLIAC. After play resumes, good job by Matt Dimitrievs from the left-hand corner. It's 12-8. Dimitrievs is in there along with Jake Snyder, Ty Colombo. Alex Nara still on, and Shane Zulba. A couple substitutions other side too. Emmanuel Purdue out of Shaw High School, but a Shaker Heights native. He checks in. This is Croft underneath. Colombo trying to make it tough on him, but not tough enough.
Yeah, he definitely made it tough with the up and under, and could have almost got a foul there on Colombo too, but good no call.
Croft doesn't score a whole lot, but he certainly has the size to compete with a guy like Drew Sova when he's on the floor, and that's a big reason, I would imagine, he's in there tonight. First start of the season for Bailey Croft. Plays about 12 minutes a game, though. Jamal Watkins missing off to the left-hand side. Alex Arellano, who I would imagine would have otherwise drawn that assignment, is listed as unavailable tonight. I don't want to speculate at the nature of why certain players are or aren't available. There are some guys over on the bench over there that have sweatshirts and sweatpants on, but one young man with a cast on his left hand and left wrist. There are a few players for Heidelberg tonight unavailable. Prince Benson, Kobe Kelly, Alex Arellano, all among them. So they're certainly not at full strength either. Heidelberg 14, BW 8, 5.5 minutes in. Dimitrievs from the right side. This Heidelberg team is not going to be surprised by BW's willingness and success rate from behind the three-point line. Great defense. Zalba cutting in. That's an offensive foul. Martone Cole out of Auburn Hills, Michigan, draws the charge.
That might be the first one that we've seen that the defense or the visiting team has done. Usually that's a Michael Quiring kind of move right there.
That's a Michael Quiring specialty, no doubt. Heidelberg by 6. This is Purdue, right side of the key. Missed the rim entirely. Colombo in a little bit of trouble. Snyder. This has not been a great recipe for BW offensively so far. That's a good move by Colombo. (14-10) as Ty scores his first points. Of course, there is a connection here between these two teams on the coaching staff side. Dylan Woods, perfect three ball. BW lead assistant Brian Schmidt, in his 6th year at BW, was a 4-year starter and 2-year captain playing for the Student Princes. It's deflected out of bounds. Won the 2008 OAC Tournament Championship. Brian Schmidt, all OAC honors both junior and senior year. He's 13th on Heidelberg's career all-time scoring list. And he owns school records in the season and career field goal shooting. One of the better career field goal shooters in OAC history. Jackets are awfully thankful to have someone of Brian's caliber working with them on staff. That's the 3rd jump ball that Heidelberg defensively has gotten after. I'll tell you what, Jeff, try to be objective and call it like I see it. Right now, Heidelberg wants this game a lot more than the Jackets do. It's 17-10, and BW is pretty flat on both ends of the floor.
No doubt about it. The hustle is there, and especially the second unit. Martone Cologne takes a charge and then just ties up. He's playing great defense since he's come out on the floor.
Woods, step back. That could have hurt. Kurt Jacobs, by the way, also in the game out of Groveport Madison, Columbus area. Jackets turn around, get it to Colombo, and he misses from close by.
And I don't know if it's anything, but Heidelberg was on the floor a lot more in warm-ups than the Jackets were. And I walked in the gym around 6 o'clock, and they were out here the whole time.
One's going back to Baldwin Wallace. Here comes Drew Silva back in for Alex Nara. Alex Nara is in the midst of one of the best stretches of basketball that he's ever played at either the high school or the college level. Certainly the best of his college career. I don't want to speculate at maybe a good 3-week stretch he had as a prepster, but last 5 games, 19, 21, 19, 18, and 12 are his point totals. BW has been relying on him more and more. Snyder along the baseline throws one high up in the air. That is last touched by the Berg. Of course, the Jackets are coming off of a disappointing loss at Marietta, who at the time was still ranked 6th in the country, but as you mentioned, because of the loss to Mount Union last week, they've dropped a little bit in the polls, still top 15. Dimitrievs, no. Sova grabs the miss up high. Sova He got away with a walk. Makes it count.
He did shuffle those for sure, but that was pretty good defense there by West Holmes.
Take it however you can get it. Speaking of Ty Colombo, good to see him back on the floor after he had a knee injury that kept him out of action for a couple of weeks. Colombo played 17 minutes on Saturday, seemed to respond pretty well. See if they stretch him out a little more tonight. Drusova high, up in the air to grab the miss. Manuel Perdue rocking the headband tonight. 11 minutes left in the first half. Head faking a drive. Dimitriev's caught Colombo off guard, and oh boy. Glad he's okay, but just talking about his knee injury. Saw his knee buckle there for a moment. No worse for the wear. And free throws for BW. I would imagine the big game across the league tonight that everybody's keeping an eye on is the John Carroll Mount Union game. Mount Union 9-1 in OAC play. The Blue Streaks, Capital, and Heidelberg are all 5-5. Marietta and Mount Union at 9-1. They're tied atop the conference. The Jackets are 6-4. You kind of get the feeling that the top two teams have separated themselves a little bit. Not, they're not so much that they can't be passed, but it would be a surprise if Marietta and Mount Union are not the top two teams in the conference at the end of the year, given how well they've played so far. But boy, seeds 3 through 7 for sure. It's still a good chunk in front of us, Jeff, but man, that feels like it really could go anybody's direction.
Yeah, there's so many games left and so many teams that are 1 game to 2 games behind each other that we don't, 1 and 2 should probably be done, and then everybody else fighting for that home court game, that first round in the tournament.
Zalba at the free throw line, trying to make it a 4-point game. And he missed. Oh, he got it in. Wow, I thought that ball hit the heel of the rim and popped away. A fortunate break for Shane Zalba. Dixon back to work. You know, he's not a big guy, but very athletic and never afraid to drive at the bucket. Shaefer. Step back, fade away. He didn't yell Kobe on it, but it was that same kind of look. What a tough week it's been in the basketball community. Good floater from Tamal Watkins. I don't know about you, but Sunday's a day I'll never forget.
Yeah, it was an interesting and sad day for everyone, and shocking.
Life is so fragile. 19-13, Drusova turns around and puts it in. Think about this demographic of young basketball players, guys that are in the college game right now. Kobe was kind of in his prime when these guys were really young kids. He was Michael Jordan of 20 years ago to a lot of guys that are in their 40s now. I guess that's not a travel. Jump ball. Tom Heil with 2 hands on his head says, what do you mean? Tamal Watkins was diving after it. The only guy that's really pushed Kobe's legacy in time since is LeBron James. That's not to say there haven't been other superstar talent level players, but I think this is an age group in particular that was really rocked by Kobe's tragic passing on Sunday. I don't want to get too off topic, but did you see the TNT special last night out in Los Angeles? Really touching the TNT inside the NBA crew from Staples Center did an hour hit and, on the floor. It was pretty moving. Dimitrievs hits it from the corner. All right, Jackets within 1, 19-18.
No, I did not. To answer your question, I did not see it, but I saw highlights of Shaquille O'Neal and how, that's got to be the toughest one for any of that crew on that panel, playing so many years with them.
It was hard to listen to. Derek Fisher, Reggie Miller all shared their thoughts too. We are all grieving together, no doubt about that. BW could take the lead if they score a basket here. It's 19-18 Heidelberg at the 8:38 mark of the first half. Neither team has really put on a clinic offensively. Sova has it pulled away. Jamal Watkins decides to pull up for three. It was a good open look, missed it. Get a second crack at it, and the Student Princes make it count. From the left-hand side, Naki Taylor, the freshman from Groveport Madison, tickles the twine, and it's 22-18 Heidelberg as they call timeout.
And Brendan, I know you were talking earlier about the standings and the big game in the league tonight. The Blue Streaks have a 5-point lead on Mount Union, 18-13, with 10:30 left to go in that first half. A lot of game left, but if it's a tale of games from a week ago, the Mount Union was already blowing out Mount Marietta at this point last week on their own home court.
Mount Union beat Marietta to a pulp. And about 4 minutes left in the game, it was 101-61. They won the game 107-70. And they couldn't exactly take their foot off the gas because Wilmington is a good team. Mount Union beat Wilmington 92-84 on Saturday. You know, John Carroll's so interesting because they're just hot and cold, and I really don't think the Blue Streaks played very well when they were here. But you can see why they could be a nightmare. I mean, they beat Whitworth, who at the time was ranked number 11 in the country. I think that's got a lot to do with the fact they're a hard team to scout, and if you don't play them with any frequency, it'd be hard to play at that pace.
Yeah, they definitely are going to be a team to be reckoned with down the stretch here. And I think the fact here last Wednesday, they didn't hit a lot of layups and close shots, so that killed them in that game last week. They easily could have walked out of here with a win.
If you're asking if I'd like to see them in the tournament as a Jacket fan, the answer is no.
Definitely.
Definitely not. They went down and gave Marietta a heck of a game down at Van Johnson Arena last year in the tournament. There's a good three ball in the left-hand corner. And a nice early first half performance from Dylan Woods. He's got 8 now. Jackets are down by a handful, 25-20. 7 minutes, 38 seconds left in the first half. Mazzio blocked from behind, but Heidelberg standing out of bounds when they did it.
I'm hoping somebody will follow that up with somebody will knock the Blue Streaks out in the quarterfinals so nobody has to worry about them semifinals or championship. Because somehow they rise to that occasion every year if they're in that championship game.
Nara from the top of the key right down the left-hand side for 2. Baldwin Wallace hanging around, down 3 points, 25-22. Watkins, he's got 6 already. Firing, trying not to give him much space. Q deflects it straight up in the air. Croft gathers it in. 5 to shoot for Watkins. Boy, he forced it up and somehow it went in.
I don't know how he got that over Nara and Shaefer to put that in. Great shot.
8 for Tamal Watkins, 8 for Dylan Woods. They're leading the way for Heidelberg. Luke Shaefer with some sweet handles behind the back. Nara, yes sir. So the teams are trading baskets here, 27-24. Haven't mentioned it yet, but of course Andy Buhai was on staff coaching at Marietta for a few years. He's down there before taking the job at Heidelberg in his first season, 2013-2014, his first year in Tiffin. Right corner 3 ball, Homan puts it in. Heidelberg looking pretty good from the outside in the first half. They've hit a few now. It's 30-24. Mazzio. Well, I'll tell you what, the Yellow Jacket offense is really stagnant right now. They're either driving and kicking trail passes out to guys to shoot 3, or they're driving at the basket with the sole intention of putting in a layup. There's not a whole lot of movement away from the ball right now. The offense, frankly, feels a bit predictable.
And even, I'll give some credit to the Heidelberg defense here. They're collapsing as soon as they're attacking, and then there's nowhere to go.
Right side three missed. Good box out from Shaefer. Jackets do like to get moving in transition. That's a good part of their offense. This leaves Mazzio open in the corner, and he puts it in. Gotta be honest, he didn't shoot it with great confidence there. Usually you'll see him hold a gooseneck. Not that time. He almost timidly put it up. But Mazzio scores his first points.
Dylan Woods closed quickly on him, so I don't think he had a chance to give the gooseneck there.
A tight window. Little miss from Woods inside the paint. Jackets down 3, they're running. Oh, it's called an offensive foul. Mazzio said, hey, I was backing away from it.
Not so much that flop call that we talked about last week, but very close. That good acting job there for the foul.
Sova, Shaefer, Sabula, Mazzio, and Quiring. It's the starting 5 for BW right now. Heidelberg with a couple of different changes. They're bringing Kurt Jacobs back on the floor. On the right-hand side, Purdue standing in the corner. This is Dylan Woods dribbling it across the timeline. Seth Holman remains in the game. And the post player here is Logan West Holmes out of Tip City. 10 to shoot for Woods. Long 2, puts it in. That's a tough shot.
Yeah, Sabula was all over him, and he just did a little fadeaway and knocked it down.
Jackets down 5, that's 10 now. Game's leading scorer, Dylan Woods. We've crossed the 4-minute threshold on our way toward halftime. Shaefer, quick trigger pull. Missed it long.
They're definitely reiterated that we're just standing, the Yellow Jackets are just standing around and waiting for somebody to shoot the 3 or take it to the hole.
Emmanuel Purdue had a wide open lane. That's called an offensive foul. Purdue put his shoulder down into Mazzio, who was not in front of him, but rather striding side for side with him. Jackets get the benefit of the call as Purdue checks out. And Josh Dixon comes back. Now Matt Dimitrievs returns for Zach Sabula.
And talking about how great Coach Buhai has been everywhere. He just grabbed Purdue and told him, hey, and then coached him right up and then just pat him on the back and just shake it off, we'll get you back in.
That's a pretty quick, hey, get your head right, refocus. We got you for a couple minutes. Shaefer, good jump stop, feed to Sova. And Drew is fouled on the floor. It just feels to me like a lot of the possessions up the floor for the Jackets have all looked the same.
Yeah, there's not a lot of flow there.
Sova trying to be the big man. Yeah, bang in the head, rubbed his head as he runs back up the floor there. Another BW turnover. Woods for 3. Not quite. Last time there was a game in this gymnasium, it was on Wednesday night when the BW ladies were playing. As Luke Shaefer's 3 is up and good. It was a game against Marietta on Wednesday night. And BW had a 3-point shooting night for the ages. School record 16 threes, one shy of a conference all-time record. Hopefully the men can get hot from behind the arc here soon too. 2-point lead for Student Princes. Pull up from the left side. It missed everything, but bounced straight to Kurt Jacobs. Hold on a second. The shot clock reset and shouldn't have. The referees trying to figure out where it should be here.
I think that was a great pass.
It certainly worked out that way, didn't it? I don't think it's going to go that way on the box score, but I don't think you could have one-hopped it more perfectly to Kurt Jacobs.
It would have never got through the lane.
To see what kind of adjustment they make to the board. Meanwhile, John Carroll leads Mount Union 30-26. About 5 minutes left in their first half. Wilmington has a 34-19 lead over Ohio Northern. 6 minutes left in their first half. Capital and Muskingum are playing tonight, and it does not appear that that event has started yet, although I'm not sure why.
They may be having the same issues we are with live stats here.
Okay. Marietta 24, Otterbein 22. They're closing in on the end of the first half. That's a tighter game than Pioneer fans probably hope. They're going to put 1 second on the shot clock. That's probably fair, given that they passed it away from the baseline up to the top. By the time they actually stop things, this has to be a quick catch and shoot. Lobbed in. West Holmes turns. That one missed the rim, even though it went off the backboard. Yikes. Andy Buhai is not happy. He shouldn't be.
Probably had a little bit more time to shoot that, but fired away and missed everything.
Well, either way, from that close, you got to at least hit the rim. 2 minutes, 13 seconds left in the first half. Along with Jeff Miller, I'm Brendan Gulick. It's 32-30. Heidelberg has led basically this whole game so far, but they've never really had a large lead. As Luke Shaefer ties it up. 32 apiece. Luke Shaefer's got 8 in what's been about an average first half for him. Shaefer, the Jackets' leading scorer this year. On his good nights, he's good for 20 a game or more. On his bad nights, teams lock him down, and it's hard for him to get 10 points. He's averaging more than 11 per contest this year. He and Quiring both almost 11 and a half per game. Snyder down the right side throws a heat-seeking missile off the backboard. Not even close. Minute 20, tied at 32. Jacobs, good bounce pass in the middle. That is off Dimitrievs. Dixon trying to cut through. Here comes Zalba for Quiring. Clock's at 1:09. Inbounds pass goes right back to Woods. 5 to shoot for Dylan Woods. Tried to get funky with the right hand. The ball went over the rim, not once but twice. Back to Woods for 2. Goodness gracious. The look on Brian Schmidt's face across the way. Yikes. Blocked underneath. Good play by Logan West Holmes. Heidelberg by a bucket. Difference between game and shot clock here is 8 seconds. We have 20 seconds to shoot. Woods, long way out. Not quite. Good job from Snyder. For the lead, Matt Dimitrievs. No. Sova, second chance. And it got pulled away. 7 seconds before half. Jacobs to the left side. Open. Cole couldn't score. Sova lost it. And that was a lackluster final 30 seconds before halftime. It's Heidelberg 34, Baldwin Wallace 32, and the Jackets, it's not that they haven't played well. They've had some opportunities, but boy, this just doesn't look like the same team that we've seen at their peak this year, Jeff. And so you start to think about, well, they're only 2 points back. Perhaps you can find a way to take some solace in the fact that they're only down 2 points at halftime.
Yeah, that was pretty at the end there. I mean, pretty sure that Coach Heil didn't want that 3 with 19 seconds still, or 11 seconds still left to shoot, and probably would rather to have a last possession instead of giving Heidelberg another look, and almost a second look when Sova lost the ball, but luckily the Student Princes weren't looking quick enough for that one.
34-32 at the break. We'll step aside during halftime, and we're working on trying to resolve the issue with the live stats. Hopefully we can get that fixed for you here shortly. But we'll have second half coverage for you in about 15 minutes on BWYellowJackets.com. Welcome back on BWYellowJackets.com as we get ready to start the second half with the Heidelberg Student Princes out front 34-32. Jackets have never had a lead in this game, but they've also never trailed by more than 7 points. The games have played within a fairly tight margin. Both teams, by the percentages, shot it pretty well in the first half. Heidelberg 15 of 29, that's 52%. Jackets were 13 of 26, so 50% there. BW hit 5 of 8 threes. Heidelberg 4 of 7 from behind the three-point line. A couple of differences, though. Jackets were significantly better in the offensive rebounding and conversion category. They were +5 on the glass, and they were able to turn around and make a couple of those. Drew Sova had 4 of the team's 5 offensive rebounds. And I thought the Jackets, again, I was critical a couple of times on places where I thought the offense looked a bit stagnant, but the 50% from the floor is certainly a sign that it is working. So we'll have to see how the second half goes. But I do think it's also fair to point out that BW's bench has been much better than Heidelberg so far. Heidelberg has just 3 points from their bench. The Jackets have gotten 15 from their reserves thus far. That was a good little move from Tamal Watkins, who now has 10. Dylan Woods leads all scorers with 12. Jeff, the one thing that will certainly bother the Yellow Jackets, they had 9 turnovers, only 6 assists, 13 made buckets in the first half. You certainly don't want to have 50% more turnovers than assists in the first half.
And a lot of that was right in the beginning of the first half. So it settled down a little bit. Maybe the nerves were there, but they're playing a little bit better in the second half of the first half. It's just one of those things that, and like we said, the offense looks a little stagnant, but they're still getting the production that they need.
Well, a couple of easy baskets for Heidelberg right at the rim to start this second half. Both those from Watkins. So now it's 38-32. Jackets have their starting 5 on the floor. Looks to be not quite the same for Heidelberg. They have a couple of, you know what? No, this is their starting 5. I beg your pardon. Holman is out there along with the big man Bailey Croft. This is Dixon from the left elbow. Too strong. Baldwin Wallace has dropped 4 games in conference. 3 of them are to Marietta and Mount Union, the 2 teams ranked ahead of them in OAC play. The other one was a loss at Ohio Northern. They will try and avenge coming up next week, 1 week from tonight. Jackets are about to enter a challenging stretch in the schedule. After tonight's game, 5 of their next 6 are on the road. At Muskingum, mentioned Ohio Northern's coming here next week. And then at Wilmington, Carroll, Capital, and Mount Union. It's kind of an odd schedule for them this year in that way. Good turnaround from Croft, and he missed it. How did that one not drop? Jeez. Alex Arlano was on the bench, and he was the first guy ready to celebrate. Didn't drop in there. Shaefer saves it from becoming a backcourt violation. Now Luke takes it to the can, and he's able to draw a blocking foul. BW did not shoot very many free throws, just 1 of 2 in that first half. I would think that's got to be more of their focal point moving forward here. Trying to find a way to get to the free throw line.
Attack the rim, get fouled, try to convert those 3-point plays, or at least get 2 free throws.
Although they're shooting it well from the outside tonight. Quiring had it stripped, got it back, 10 to shoot. Mazzio, good hesitation, and it pays off for him. Anthony Mazzio. Love the way he's grown here as a freshman. Just his 17th career game tonight. Averaging almost 10 points per. Not quite from Watkins. He's been good close to the rim. Not so much in the mid-range game, at least not this evening. Sabula takes his first shot of the whole night. He bricks it up there, but a clear foul underneath the basket as Drew Sova was almost had his legs taken out from underneath him. The foul is on Homan, his 3rd. So Martone Cole takes his place. Shaefer off the inbound. Put Cole on skates. Cole realized he was the last to touch it, so he made that last-ditch effort to get to it. Jackets down 4 here. Mazzio. Turn around, fade away, got the friendly roll. Pretty move by Anthony Mazzio. He's got 7. Offensive foul on Watkins. Better start to the second half for Zach Sabula, whose plus-minus in the first half was a team worst, -8, in just under 9 minutes having played in that first half. He hadn't taken a shot. In fact, he was part of Club Trillion, zeros across the entire stat sheet. But he draws that foul there. All right, drives to the bucket and scores. Great find from Shaefer. And we're tied at 38. Love seeing that.
That's one of those things from Sabula that he kind of is quiet in those first halves, and then just out of nowhere just lights them up and finds key things, and like that, just a nice take and put it in. So he's one of those quiet players in the beginning of the game, but look out for him in the second half. Andy
Buhai realized his team was crumbling a bit, so he calls timeout. And we've got a good contest here tonight. 38-38, 15:55 left in regulation on BWYellowJackets.com. Baldwin Wallace and Heidelberg tied at 38. Hope you're enjoying our coverage here tonight. I think it's been a pretty entertaining game so far. Baldwin Wallace trying to get to 7-4 in OAC action this year. Josh Dixon faked right, drove left. Now it's Cole turning around with the left hand. No, fought for his own miss and drew the whistle.
Great hustle there by Cole, because as soon as he put that ball up, he knew it wasn't going in, and he crashed the boards and got that offensive rebound, and the foul is going to the line.
Martone Cole, 6'4", out of Auburn Hills, Michigan. Just a sophomore. Puts up the free throw and bricks it long. Cole hasn't seen a ton of time this year. He's only playing in his 3rd game of the season. Heidelberg's definitely had to go a little deeper into their bench, especially with the likes of Prince Benson and Alex Arlano injured. Free throw up and good. Certainly looks like it's Arlano who has the cast on his left hand, but he did play on Saturday, so I'm not sure when the injury took place, but he played 29 minutes on Saturday. That one goes out of bounds, stays with BW. On the other side, Prince Benson, who's the 6'9" senior big man out of Madison. He's only played 10 games this year. I imagine that missing those two guys changes the dynamic of their team quite a bit. Dmitriev 7 to shoot. Dixon right with him. Matt turns around and gets it. All right, it was slow developing, but it worked. And BW takes their first lead of the entire game, 40-39, 5 minutes into the second half. Jamal Watkins working through Bailey Croft. Nara equal to the task. Croft couldn't score, and it goes back to Baldwin Wallace. Heidelberg makes a change. Watkins replaced on the floor by Purdue. All right, Quiring running the show. It's kind of hard to envision Michael Quiring being in his senior season. It was like just yesterday he was the starting point guard as a freshman. Tom Heil absolutely loves the way Q attacks the game, both from the physical and the mental perspective. He's trusted him his whole career. There's an offensive foul on Nara. And that's not to say the Jackets don't have anybody capable of filling his shoes. We've seen certainly Shane Zalba and Jake Snyder get some reps running the offense, but Quiring's a special player. He's good. Really, really solid.
He's definitely a solid player, and you wondered how he was going to step into that full-blown point guard kind of role again, because with Jay graduating, who pretty much handled the ball last year.
Great jab by Snyder. Read it like a book, but then missed the layup. Jackets are scrambling. Back to Dimitrievs. No. Gets his own miss and kicks it. That's a tough break for the Jackets. Heidelberg down a point, under 14 to play.
A little ugly there. I mean, and this is the point where the Yellow Jackets have to take advantage, because Heidelberg has not been playing well on the offensive end the last 2 or 3 minutes.
That's 2 straight turnovers by the Student Princes. Shaefer the steal that time. Quiring, no on the layup. Nara turns and scores. 42-39 Jackets, their largest lead of the game. Tom Heil trying to inspire his team's effort on the defensive end. Sometimes you got to find a way to win ugly. The Jackets are hoping they can do that here tonight. Snyder, spot 3, already. Timeout, Heidelberg. 7 straight points for BW. It's 45-39. Thirty-second timeout for the Student Princes. It's the first time BW's gone on any kind of notable run all game.
And at the right time, where they needed to put a little gap here, because you don't want to be down again in those tight situations in the last 2 minutes, and we know what happens with the playing Heidelberg every time.
Meanwhile, Marietta has created some distance from the Otterbein Cardinals. It was 24-22. Well, now it's 39-25 Marietta. They're early in their second half. Unfortunately, don't have an update for you from Capital and Muskingum. Mount Union and John Carroll continuing a tight game. It's now the Purple Raiders out front by 6, 51-45, 2 minutes into the second half. And Wilmington is throttling Ohio Northern 57-33, 4 minutes into their second half.
And I think Muskingum's having the same issues we are tonight with live stats, but I just would turn on the video feed. It's 53-42 Capital in the second half. Don't know how much time, but at least their scoreboard there is working.
All right. Well, Capital at 5-5. The Muskies are one of 2 teams that are 2-8 conference play. Change here. Kurt Jacobs comes in. It is so hard for me to believe how Ohio Northern's men's program the last 2 years has fallen from grace. They were in the OAC championship game 2 years ago at John Carroll when the Blue Streaks won the tournament. And last year they had a bad OAC record. And they certainly had some adversity. But when you have a player the capability of Ryan Bruns, who's now playing professionally, as Alex Nara goes to the free throw line. You know, Bruns is a pro over in Europe now, and they still had a couple of other good players. And yet, they're 2-8 in league play this year, and one of their wins is against the Jackets. So I don't know how to figure that one out.
2 wins, but anybody going out to play there in Ada, that's a tough place to play. So can't knock the Yellow Jackets for suffering that loss, but it's still one of those head shakers that how did you?
Rich Bensman, head coach of the Polar Bears, one of the good guys in the league for sure. And I certainly hope that there are brighter days ahead for their program. I don't think there's any question about it. When the Polar Bears are good, the conference is better off for it. 46-39 Baldwin Wallace, and a foul apparently on the floor. It's on Snyder. Oh no, okay, it is 2 shots. That motion toward the baseline had me scratching my head for a moment. I thought it was pretty clear it was a shooting foul. Well, John Carroll just went on a quick little spurt, and now they're tied at 54 down in Alliance. Jamal Watkins hits the first free throw and finally stops that 8-0 run by the Jackets. So it's 46-40. Watkins with 13. Make it 14. Colombo, Zalba, Dimitrievs, Nara, and Jake Snyder. 5 for BW here. Nara hesitates, explodes, and finishes. Got his defender on his heels, went right to the basket with it. Nara's got 11. 6th consecutive game he's in double digits. That's out of bounds off BW.
What they were expecting out of him when he stepped foot here in Berea as a freshman, and had some injuries and other things that happened that kept him off the floor. But it's one of those things that this is a spark that they definitely needed right now in this portion of the year.
He's also filled out pretty nicely. He's always been tall, but he's a lot thicker this year in a good way. He was long and wiry when he came in as a freshman. He's clearly spent some time in the weight room. Jackets love to lift weights. If you don't like lifting weights, you're not going to succeed in this program. That is absolutely for sure.
Including the head coach, who outlifts a lot of them.
And the assistant coach. Those guys are gym rats.
I guess for all the Chipotle you eat, you better go to the gym.
Well, you know, what the heck. 48-41 BW. There's 2 ways to look at it. The other side of the coin is you can afford to eat Chipotle as often as they do. That's a theory I can get behind.
Everybody here in Berea knows that one about you, Brendan.
48-41. 11-14 left in the second half. I would imagine that's a conversation, and I'm being serious, that they have with recruits early on. Hey, if you want to be serious about playing here, you better like spending time in the weight room, because even when it's not coach-led, there's certain periods of the year where the coaching staff can't have that kind of access with the team. The upperclassmen take that upon themselves year after year. This team spends an awful lot of time working out on their own. Heidelberg off and running, 48-41, and they cut it to 5. Another good move by Watkins. He's a good little player. Watkins averaging more than 12 a night. He's got 16 this evening, and we've still got half the second half in front of us. BW by 5. As Colombo throws it over into the corner. Snyder tried to go way up top, and he dropped one in there. All of a sudden, it feels like an avalanche of offense here for Baldwin Wallace.
The things that we were talking about, them kind of being stagnant, they're back into their groove here in the second half.
You know, perhaps it's fair to give Heidelberg's defense additional credit, because when BW plays in the half court, sometimes the look of the offense can be slow and stodgy. BW's at their best when they're running, when they're moving all over the floor. Guys moving without the ball, certainly in transition. But even in plays like that, where there's just a lot of chaos going on, because they're so athletic, it's at times where you get in the half court and things get slow. You'll lose that spark as Colombo blocks one out of bounds, where maybe the brand of basketball isn't as exciting. But you're starting to feel BW here settling into a more dominating role in this game. They were down 39-38, and at this point have a 7-point lead, 50-43, with exactly 10 minutes left in the game. Croft with the left hand, nice move, he scores. Again, Bailey Croft has not played much this year. He's averaged about 10 to 12 minutes a game. No starts for him. Big shoes to fill with the loss of Arellano. Boy, that was up with a lot of mustard on it from Woods. He couldn't follow it up. Dimitrievs missed it short. Croft high for the rebound.
I don't think Woods thought he was going to get that clean of a look with Sova, and I think Colombo was down there too. So two big trees in your way, and he got a great look and hammered it off the glass.
Just over 9 minutes left in the game. Right corner, Woods for three. Here comes Quiring in the Jackets. Colombo wants to go to work on Cole. Drop step wasn't going to happen, so he turned around. It was more than halfway in. It popped away. Watkins has his eyes on the rack right away, and Colombo outstretches to block.
Great defense there. Watkins thought he had him, and Colombo didn't even move.
All of a sudden, this game's turning into a track meet. I think that was kicked out of bounds. It sure was. Back to BW. Good play by Matt Dimitrievs.
Here they go, one by one, coming in. Everybody run to the bench quick and come on.
Yeah, it's a matter of trying to figure out the matchups that these two guys want. Now it's Purdue, Croft, Seth Homan, and the two starting guards, Dixon and Woods for Heidelberg. Goodness gracious. Quiring turns it over. BW starting five are out there. Sabula, Shaefer, Sova, Mazzio, and Q.
Capital up 61-46 with 11 minutes left to go in that game.
Okay.
Thank you for turning the camera to the scoreboard down in New Concord.
Manuel Purdue with his first 2 points of the night. Mount Union leads John Carroll by 5. Wilmington leads Ohio Northern by 16. And Marietta out front of Otterbein by 8. Everybody's games in the second half at the moment. Sova received that low bounce pass, although as he gathered to shoot, was off balance the whole way. Heidelberg with the ball down 3. 7:45 left in regulation. Tom Heil preaching defense to his team. Purdue on Sova. 10 to shoot. Dixon. It's a tough play. Dixon scores again, give him 8. And the Student Princes back within 1.
Like normal, they won't go away quietly.
Mazzio. Quiring on the left wing. Fade away 3 ball. Michael Quiring hits it.
There's times that you think he's putting up a shot that, like, why did he take it, and then it just falls in. Like, I didn't think that one had a prayer, and it just buries it down the bottom of the net.
Head coach Andy Buhai was applauding and telling his defense good job. It was a tough shot, but Quiring got it. Purdue travels. Oh, they're going to give him a jump ball. Boy, he stopped and picked up that right pivot foot. Either way, possession arrow favors Baldwin Wallace.
I'll give you a score update for the other Yellow Jacket fans. The BW women are up 72-40 to start the 4th.
72-40?
72-40 to start the 4th.
All right. Heidelberg women aren't having a very good year, are they?
No, they are not.
Hopefully they can get that program turned around. 6.5 minutes to go. Shaefer rejected. Big play by Seth Homan.
Homan, who's donning the pretty much the hockey mustache.
Dylan Woods. It's a 3. 15 for Woods, and we're back within a 1-point game now. Baldwin Wallace 53. Can they add to it? Shaefer, no. 53-52. It's a Sabula 3 ball. Big shot by Zach Sabula, his first three of the night.
He's always clutch, like I said, late in games when you need it.
Woods on the baseline with that good extra pass. Yikes. Croft got the defenders in the air, but then missed an easy one. Jackets by 4. Nara might have gotten away with a double dribble. Instead, tipped it over to Shaefer, and Tom Heil calls a full timeout. BW 58, Heidelberg 52, and the Jackets have the momentum with 5:22 to play. Well, Baldwin Wallace's defense has more than done their job so far in the second half. After Heidelberg shot 52% in the first half tonight, they've hit only 7 of 22 shots so far in the first 14 and a half minutes since halftime. Jackets 48% from the field tonight, 8 of 18 threes. And as I referenced earlier, their bench has played really well, outscoring Heidelberg's bench right now 27-6, and it has been the difference. Heidelberg's got a handful of good guards. Certainly Watkins and Woods are playing well. I think Josh Dixon's a good player, even though he doesn't have the same volume of shots. And this game is far from over, Jeff, but BW feels like they're in a fairly good spot. Up 6 here, 5 minutes to play.
27 bench points, 19 of them between Nara and Demetrius. So you're getting the production that you want from your 6th and 7th men.
No doubt about that. Purdue, good touch on it. Well, the shot clock started winding down there a little early, like 2.5 seconds early. So the Jackets, let's see what they do. Well, it didn't affect Alex Nara. I'd say something like that was anti-home cooking, but it didn't hurt him. 4 minutes, 33 seconds. Somehow it was a sticky clock. I don't know. Woods, he's been good tonight. Drives on Quiring, turns, scores, and one. (60-56). And Woods has it. It's 18 points for Dylan Woods. Michael Quiring, long three, right on the money. Heidelberg tries to answer, and Watkins puts too much behind it. Baldwin Wallace only up 6 with 3:45 to play, but they feel like this game's under control at the moment. Sometimes that can be a scary thing when you think you've got more control than the scoreboard reflects. Loose in the corner, Nara gets on it, finds Sabula. And I guess a timeout awarded to Nara before he passed it away, as Andy Buhai boot stomping on the floor in anger.
I'm shocked. I don't think there was possession anywhere there for them to call a timeout. That ball was bouncing around between everybody.
I agree with you. He's pretty hot at the moment, and I think he's got good reason to be. But the Jackets will take it. 63-57. Only 3:28 left to play.
Well, Brendan, it looks like history could be made on Saturday here, though, for sure. Coach Hare is one with this. They're not going to lose this one. They're up 80-43 with 6 minutes left.
Holy smokes, 80-43?
With 6:32 left.
Wow.
Coach Hare will be on the doorstep of winning her 600 career game.
How about that? Well, hopefully it'll be a special day on Saturday. The referee holds things up here, and I think Andy Buhai is being told, hey, enough's enough. This is the head referee of this crew, Eric Brown. The referees are going to get together.
Is the argument here, should it be on the sideline or underneath? I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it was awarded a timeout in the corner there.
Kind of where his body was laying, I would say it'd have to be underneath, but that's why you and I are up here.
Absolutely. So Coach Buhai is getting an explanation. The referees decide it's a baseline inbound, and that's that. Alex Nara, he's going to the free throw line. Nara misses the first one off the front of the rim. That's 4 fouls now, by the way, on Seth Homan. (63-57) BW with 3 minutes and 17 seconds left. For 2 there from the line. For critical misses. Now Woods almost had it blocked. In fact, I think Quiring did get a fingertip on it. That ball never got even close to the rim. Mazzio with a great crossover. He traveled. He crossed over so hard he faked himself out. Well, all the energy in this gymnasium has all of a sudden kind of been sucked out, hasn't it? Jackets had a ton of momentum, and now it almost feels like everybody's a little nervous and quiet at the moment. Kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop somehow. Watkins has had a good night, forces that one up and in, count it, +1. He's got 18, looking for 19.
And that might be a little reason why now it's a could be a three-point game.
Well, I made the comment that it's not a good thing when you feel comfortable and then you look up at the scoreboard and go, well, why do we feel comfortable? We shouldn't. We're only up by a few. We'll have to see if the Jackets can figure out a way to hang on here late. There's a lot of game left. Meanwhile, down in Alliance, John Carroll leads Mount Union by 2. Under 4 minutes to play there. This conference, man, I'll tell you what, never ceases to amaze you. If a team goes 18-0 in this league, they got a legitimate chance to win the national championship.
That's why you never see it.
Yes. Very rarely you see anybody just lose one game. Quiring missed it to the left-hand side. That's why Marietta was an Elite 8 team last year, and they've made a couple of Sweet 16 runs. John Carroll's made some Sweet 16 runs. They've been to the Final Four once in their history, but they've been in the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight several times. Mount Union, I think, is good enough to be that kind of a team this year. This is a tough league, man. 63-60 with 2:10 to play. Jamal Watkins, good job hedging the screen. Skips it over to the left. This would tie the game, and it's good. Seth Holman, ring him up. And we're knotted at 63, and Heidelberg's got all the mojo. 1:50 to play. Heidelberg has one foul to give. Heidelberg's, or I should say BW, is at the limit. Both teams 3 timeouts. Shaefer wants to drive. Back to Q for the lead. Yes, sir! 66-63. 11 points for Q. And the senior from Brunswick trying to put the team on his back. 1:15 to play. Heidelberg hasn't won in this gymnasium in a decade. Woods from the left elbow. And a foul on the student Princes.
I think that's Holman, right? Holman's gone.
Yep, that's his 5th. It was an accident for sure, but the right call. And now he's walking slowly toward the bench as Martone Cole will take his place. Timeout on the floor. Andy Buhai wants to think about it and draw something up. Full timeout, so we'll take it with him. All right, sweaty palms time in Berea. 1:02 to play. 66-63 Jackets on BWYellowJackets.com. Baldwin Wallace 66, Heidelberg 63 with 1:02 left in our contest. Along with Jeff Miller, I'm Brendan Gulick. OAC game number 11. BW 6-4. They're in 3rd place in the league, and they're hoping that perhaps their rivals, John Carroll, can help them out a bit tonight. The Blue Streaks lead Mount Union by 1 with 2 minutes to play. That could bring Mount Union 1 game closer to the rest of the pack. We're in the final minute of regulation. Both teams at the limit defensively. Jackets with 3 timeouts, 2 left for Heidelberg. Student Princes need a stop here, no other way about it. Sabula feeds Nara. Nara has been BW's best player in the second half of the season. And he turns around and makes it 68-63.
Definitely, I think that's the right call from Coach Heil, that if you're not going to get that wide open look, let's go to the solid attack from Nara underneath, and he's been solid, like you said, the last 6 games.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, the offensive output from Alex Nara. If you include tonight's 15 points. In the last 6 games, he's averaging more than 17.3 per contest. After in the beginning of the season, he hadn't even crossed the 10-point threshold once. So all of a sudden, Alex Nara has given this team an entirely different look.
It was definitely where he picked up his game when Colombo went down with that injury for a few weeks. And he had to be that guy that Colombo's been all season in the first half.
It's been a big leadership role that he stepped into, and he's done a nice job. Will it be enough, though? Still a lot of game here. Boy, both teams 2 timeouts, both teams in the bonus. 37.4 on the clock. The Jackets have a 68-63 lead. If you're a Heidelberg fan, you don't have any time to waste, but I don't think it's exactly freak-out time yet for a couple reasons. One, they've got possession, and 2, BW has not been a particularly good free throw shooting team this year. They are right around 66-67% for the season. And they haven't gotten the line a whole lot tonight, haven't shot it great from the line tonight. Don't need a 3 yet if you're Heidelberg. Foul underneath. Well, that was close to being a travel on Tamal Watkins, but they said it was all in one motion. And the Yellow Jacket foul whistled against Shane Zalba. For a second, I thought the referee said 14. I was trying to figure out what I was missing because Sabula was over in front of the scorer's table, not on the floor. All right, 2 critical free throws for Watkins. First one's good. It's 68-64. Clock is 28.7. Watkins with 20 points now. Changes on both sides, including Shaefer and Sabula, with Quiring, Snyder, and Mazzio. 5 guards for Tom Heil's team. Watkins, who played college basketball at Shawnee State, transferred to Heidelberg, first year in the program. They call it traveling. You got to be kidding me. Mazzio was pushed to the ground. I don't understand that decision, but that's a pretty critical call, and Heidelberg calls timeout. Well, the Jackets have to find a way to get that out of their head and now come up with a defensive stop, because it's a 3-point game, 68-65 with 26.5 to play. Did you see that differently?
I looked up and saw Mazzio on the floor, so I'm listening to you say it. I looked over and he's on the floor, and then they're pointing in the way of Heidelberg.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Unfortunately, folks, we don't have the ability to show you replay. And sorry, we can't do that for you. I suppose you could probably scroll the time cursor on the bottom of your screen back and look further back if you'd like, but I don't know, the way I saw it in real time, I mean, Mazzio received the inbounds pass and had 2 feet on the floor. The defender came up close to him, made a little contact with him, and Mazzio fell backwards. I don't know. I guess I would have thought that was a foul, but it's going to come up to BW's defense here.
I don't know if they are calling it the same way, or they're thinking about the flop the other way. Did he really get that much? I don't know. I didn't see it. So is that what the referee's thinking on that? Is did Mazzio sell it more than it really was? But
I don't
it probably
think
should
so.
be a foul in this 26 seconds left in the game. You know they're coming for a foul.
Well, I can promise you the Yellow Jacket bench was hopping mad. They certainly saw it that way, but can't live in the past. Yellow Jackets lead by 3. Another tight game between these two sides. It's gone BW's way a lot. They've won 13 of the last 15 meetings, and they've won the last 10 in a row in this gymnasium.
Final in Tiffin, the BW women win 90-55.
All right, good for Sherry Harrer. She's at 599 career wins, so Saturday could be the big number 600 when Muskingum comes to town. And oh, by the way, their head coach is her former assistant, Aaron Eaton. It'll be fun to watch Saturday's game. Shot clock is off. It's poked away by Nara. Heidelberg picks it up down 3. 20 seconds to go. And a timeout called for by Coach Buhai. I don't know if he didn't like the look, didn't like the play, didn't like a certain matchup, but he had something at his disposal, so you'd rather draw something up than waste it. 17.6. Shot clock off. Final timeout called for by Heidelberg. BW 68, Heidelberg 65. Jackets trailed the entire first half, but by no more than 7 points. And in the second half, BW has made one really good little run. Other than that, it's been a pretty competitive back and forth game.
Yeah, nobody definitely has really said this is our game. Both of them have taken their little run, said I'll have it for a little bit, and the other team comes back. So, like you said, sometimes you have to win those ugly games in the OAC, and tonight's going to be an ugly win for whoever decides to come out on top of this.
These games really mean a lot when you start talking about not just seeding in the conference tournament, but especially for BW because of their record at the moment at 10-7. I mean, even if they run the table the rest of the way and don't win the OAC tournament, they're going to be at best a fringe team for the NCAA tournament. And if you want to start talking about getting at-large berths, you can't afford to lose to teams that are not regionally ranked opponents. And at 7-10 right now, Heidelberg would have to do something pretty ridiculous the back half of the season to become a regionally ranked opponent. So you think big picture. If BW has big aspirations, this is not a game you can afford to lose. That's not a knock against Heidelberg. They're a good team and they're playing shorthanded and competing hard tonight. The Jackets have to find a way to win this game. Heidelberg dribbling with 15 seconds down 3. Emmanuel Perdue goes back up. Watkins with 8 seconds, puts it up, uncontested and scores. 1 point game. Heidelberg out of timeouts. The Yellow Jackets call timeout. 23 points for Tamal Watkins. Baldwin Wallace 68. Heidelberg 67 with 6.7 seconds remaining. It's a final in New Concord. Capital beats Muskingum 76-61. So Capital goes to 6-5 in the league. Muskies fall to 2-9. Marietta, with 2 minutes to play, has a 12-point lead over Otterbein. That game is not final quite yet. 7 seconds left in Alliance. Mount Union leads John Carroll 88-85. So not sure how that one will finish. And it's just gone final in Wilmington. Wilmington clobbers Ohio Northern tonight, 85-69. So the Polar Bears and Muskies both stay 2-9. They're tied at the bottom of the conference. Wilmington with a win goes to 5-6. Well, if Heidelberg loses, they would be 5-6. If Heidelberg wins, Heidelberg, BW, and Capital would all be 6-5. And depending on the John Carroll Mount Union score, the Blue Streaks could also be 6-5. Got quite a logjam building in the middle of the league once again.
And some, like you said earlier, it's a tough stretch for the Yellow Jackets with a lot of teams that are right nipping at their heels and
about to play 5 of 6 on the road.
Yeah, the friendly confines of Ursprung are no longer except for 2 more times.
6.7 on the clock. Jackets have the ball. They lead by 1. No timeouts left for Heidelberg. They foul Snyder in the backcourt. Jake Snyder is a very good free throw shooter. This is good for BW. Snyder, the team's, I would argue, their best free throw shooter, 93% this season. And Jake Snyder is going to go to the line with the game on the line and 5.6 seconds to play. It's a 1-1. A little interested here to see that the Jackets are only going to put Quiring there. They're more interested in keeping defenders behind Snyder. Jake makes it a 2-point game. 69-67, and this is a big free throw.
Update, I was just watching the video from Mount Union. Mount Union fouled John Carroll on a three-point attempt.
Wow.
With 6 seconds left, and they're down 3.
To make it a three-point game, Snyder hits it, 70-67. Heidelberg needs a 3 to tie, 5 seconds to play. Watkins to send it to overtime. The Yellow Jackets survive at home. 70-67, tonight's final score.
That's a scary look for Watkins right there. Nobody was right there, and he took a good look, and he hit. I really thought how he went up with it. We're going into extra time here.
Squared his shoulders. It was a long way out, but he did have a good look. You're right. Heidelberg comes up just a little bit short again here at Ursprung Gymnasium. This continues to be a really tough place for them to play. 11th consecutive year that the Student Princes have lost here. They haven't won on this floor since Yellow Jacket assistant coach Brian Schmidt was playing for the Student Princes.
Final in Mount Union in Alliance. Mount Union hangs on 80-85. I guess that wasn't a shooting foul. They must have called him on the ground.
Wow, okay. All right, so let's update the standings for you since we have that ability now. Let's make sure we get these all correct. All right. One game not final yet, and that is Marietta and Otterbein. Marietta is up by 19 points halfway through the second half. So, I'm sorry, with 1 minute to play in the second half. So, Marietta is going to win. They're now up 21 with 40 seconds to play. So let's assume that they win. Here's a look at the new OAC standings. Marietta and Mount Union at 10-1, tied for first. Then the Yellow Jackets at 7-4. BW's win tonight, combined with a John Carroll loss, puts a little more separation between those two crosstown rivals. But Capital's win across, I guess across the state. Capital winning at Muskingum. Capital goes to 6-5 in the league, and so BW's lead on Capital is just one game in the third and fourth place. Then you've got John Carroll and Heidelberg and Wilmington all at 5-6, followed by Otterbein at 3-8. The Muskies and Polar Bears are each 2-9 in conference play. Final numbers from tonight's game. Good balanced effort, and how about Alex Nara? He does it again. 15 points off the bench, 7 of 10 from the floor. Without Nara tonight, the Jackets definitely don't win.
You're right again, Nara with that, but again, like you said earlier, the bench, without the bench, BW doesn't win this game. 33-8 advantage, that's impressive, and 15 of it comes from Alex Nara.
Give Jake Snyder some serious credit at the end of the game too. A freshman guard calmly puts in 2 foul shots to make it a 3-point game and give Heidelberg some hope, but an unrealized hope late in the game. Shaefer finished with 10, 11 points for Michael Quiring. Soba, a quiet scoring night, 4 points on 2 of 4, but he did grab 11 rebounds. That really helped his team's cause. Jackets 14 assists on 28 made baskets. They shot exactly 50% in both halves, 28 of 56 for the game. BW hit 10 of 20 three-pointers tonight. It really never felt like a 10 three-pointer game for them. It's kind of a ho-hum game from behind the three-point line, to be quite frank. Heidelberg in the second half offensively only hit 39% from the floor. 23 points for Tamal Watkins, 18 for Dylan Woods. Led the way for the Student Princes. Your final thoughts on another Yellow Jacket win?
This team, like we talked about last week, scraps, fights, tooth and nail to get these games that they need to win, keep themselves alive, keep them in that top half of the OAC standings, get that home game for that first round tournament game. They're a scrappy team that had a lot of question marks, like we talk about every week coming into the season, and they're proving us all wrong. And they're a team that is going to be scary, just like we're talking about a Capital team, a Wilmington team, and a John Carroll team down the stretch that nobody wants to play either. So
no doubt,
definitely a lot of these teams don't want to face the Jackets either. 5
of the next 6 on the road, but BW is playing good basketball now. 11-7 on the season, 7-4 in league play. Heidelberg falls to 7-11. They're 5-6 in conference action. Jackets go to Muskingum on Saturday for a 2 o'clock tip against the Fighting Marcus Dempseys. Never know when Marcus can go off for 50, and that's not an exaggeration for truly one of the nation's elite scorers in Division III. It's a 2 o'clock tip down in New Concord. Team will be back at home Wednesday night next week against Ohio Northern. So back-to-back games coming against two teams in conference that are both 2-9. We'll see if the Yellow Jackets can come up with big wins before the home stretch of the season. For Jeff Miller and our entire production crew, I'm Brendan Gulick. Good night from Ursprung Gymnasium, where tonight the Yellow Jackets beat Heidelberg 70-67. Have a good night, everybody.